5 years ago, Apple launched the iPhone 5C and it bombed terribly. Many speculated as to why, but my reasons to not even touch it for review is because it was just $100 less expensive than the iPhone 5S, had data specifications, and did not bring the new Touch ID. It wasn't until the iPhone 8 and iPhone 10 that Apple tried again, and this time the approach made more sense. Prices varied, materials varied, but even if you weren't getting a watered-down iPhone with the 8, their design differences were so significant that the iPhone 10 was more popular. This is why the iPhone XR experiment was so important. Bring a similar design, good enough specifications and hardware, and then make it better in essentials like the battery life. It was the world's favorite iPhone in 2018, but it was still not aggressive enough to bring Apple back to its sales glory. So, how was the aggressive part addressed? Well, this is iPhone 11. A device priced lower than even the XR, and what Apple calls just the right amount of everything. Right now, reports have it that this is Apple's best-selling iPhone, but it's got some elements that make even mid-rangers feel a bit more advanced, so the question is if you're getting a good enough iPhone for the price. I'm Jaime Rivera with Pocket Now, and this is our review of the iPhone 11, brought to you by Wix. Click the link below to start your own professional website. At a time when even the Google Pixel 3a has a better display for $200 less, it's hard to look at the iPhone 11 and say that you're getting your money's worth. But notice how I started this review. I said if you're getting a good enough iPhone, because the fact of the matter is most of the people that are currently using iPhones are not shopping around for a Pixel 3a. They most likely want to remain with iPhone, so I'm going to focus this review mostly based on that. Let me start this video by telling you what I like about this phone, and it has a lot to do with most of the hardware elements. I've spent years wanting a product-red iPhone, and the iPhone 11 is the only way to get one. And sure, there are lots of other color options to choose from, but the black screen matched with the red aluminum band, plus the red glass and the frosted finish in the camera hump, along with the flashy camera rings, looks kinda hot if you ask me. I've been using it with this tan leather case from Muzhou, and man, I love how it looks and feels. Like the iPhone XR, the 11 is also a chunky phone, which I don't mind for the second reason that I like this phone, and it's mainly because I don't really care about thin works of art that die halfway through the day. Phones have evolved into tools we need every day, all day, and this is the first time that I've been truly satisfied with an iPhone's battery life. This phone can go for a day on a charge and still have enough juice to last through a good deal of the next one. Now, not all sacrifices made to achieve this are things I like, so stay tuned for the cons. The third thing I like is seriously the cameras. If dual cameras is all you get, this is the right combo for me, now with a standard camera and an ultra-wide. Don't get me wrong, I like the telephoto for street photography, but I find the wide angle to be more useful. But really, the amount of lenses is just part of the story. Apple has been really killing it with their Smart HDR. The iPhone XR was good, but the 11 just blows it out of the water. Colors are on point, not too saturated in case you want to edit in post, and with levels of detail that I've never seen come from an iPhone, all while not being over-sharpened. And then the dynamic range of everything around it is so well balanced, not even darkening the photo if I locked exposure on a bright subject. And then low light is the true Achilles heel of any phone at this price range, and yet the iPhone 11 has two of the same cameras as the Pro. Night mode is here, and I like that you can select the speed of the shutter if you can hold still. Really, the only thing that I wish was a dial selection for it, as you depend on Apple detecting that you need the feature for it to pop up, and also, it doesn't work in the ultra-wide, which is a true bummer. Portrait photos are also kind of insane thanks to the detail. Not too overdone to make you look old and not soft at all. Well balanced is my best way to describe them, even if hair can sometimes be a problem. It's actually the same way I feel about selfie portraits. Skin tones are more natural. It just doesn't seem overdone, which I like in dark scenarios. And then there's the case for video where if you're looking for a vlogging phone, or even just the best phone to take videos of your kids and family, this is it. Selfie 4K even at a crazy 60 frames per second, which no other phone can do, and very few cameras below $1,500 can do. That said, stabilization on the selfie camera is not as good as the standard, where that looks full Morticia Addams. You don't even need a gimbal for this phone, and honestly the story of video for me is not about what this phone can do, but how well it does it. The codec seems more polished than Android counterparts, with no warping or even sharpening. Even in low light, this video is honestly the best that I've seen from a phone this year. Now, probably one of the major reasons why I like buying into an iPhone is everything that Apple brings into its ecosystem. Apple Watch Series 5 is my favorite smartwatch right now, which only works with an iPhone. The simplicity of being able to share files quickly with my Mac or iPad is still second to none, and even simple applications like FaceTime and iMessage haven't found the match from Google, even if Android has found good alternatives in other companies. And probably the coolest part is that even if you're buying the less expensive iPhone, the experience from an ecosystem perspective is not watered down at all. It's like the entire ecosystem you get when you build your own professional website using today's sponsor, Wix. Wix has all the tools in one place for you to create a professional-looking website without the need to code or pay hundreds of dollars for design. It also has a powerful, intuitive, and free tool that will help you improve your search engine ranking called Wix SEO Wiz. The Wiz is your magical personal assistant when it comes to SEO and will guide you every step of the way. With the Wix editor, you can create your homepage as simply as dragging and dropping things into place. Text, images, graphics, layouts, everything you need is there for you to drag them around until you're satisfied with the end result, and trust me, you will be. Click the link below to start your own professional website. Now, like with every single smartphone out there, there's no such thing as a perfect phone, and there are reasons why I'm mixed about using the iPhone 11. Let's begin with the primary one, which is this display. Remember that I told you that I'd come back to talk about the sacrifices made for battery endurance? Yeah, this is it. Apple's 6.1-inch Liquid Retina does have a couple of things that I like. If there's one thing Cupertino knows how to do is calibrate a display, and those of you looking for accurate colors for those Instagram edits, this screen gets that right. Sadly, you do have the typical limitations of an LCD, which is that blacks are not well represented given the fact that they need to light up that portion of the display. And honestly, I don't have a problem with that since most computers, TVs, and even my favorite iPad Pro use this technology. My problem really is Apple's choice for resolution at this price range. At some weird 828p, you'd have to go real cheap on Android phones in 2019 to find the same pixel density. And then there's the case for how iOS 13 looks on it. I mean, one of the major selling points was the whole dark mode, and yet LCDs are not necessarily the best for it. I'm not saying I don't recommend it, but just know that it's not as ideal as the OLED on the iPhone 11 Pro. And that being said, there are some other bugs on iOS 13, like in the case of Face ID. Sometimes I have to reset the phone for it to authenticate. Very rarely. But still, other people have been complaining. I do hope that Apple irons that out over time. I partially feel the same way about the internals. I find 64 gigs of storage to be such a ripoff in 2019 for $699. That said, Apple does address the needs of the most demanding users with everything else. The A13 Bionic is one of the most powerful chips of the year. This phone really knows no stutters, and I feel the same way about essentials like battery size, RAM, and the IP68 water and dust resistance in addition to the wireless charging. You want to know what's the irony? That all that power is not really harnessed by the simplicity of iOS 13. I know a lot of people do not like this grid of icons, and I join them in their sentiment. I wish that iOS was more modular about allowing me to make my home screen whatever I want, but I do understand that this level of simplicity is what a lot of people prefer as well. Sadly, there really wasn't much of a change with iOS 13, except for improvements under the hood. Apps are said to launch faster, but I really can't tell. And then swipe functionality finally reaches the keyboard, but that's not truly something I'd call news even for iOS. About the only thing that I like about iOS 13 on the iPhone 11 is something the Small Pro can't do, which is to go landscape on certain apps, but that's about it. And sure, photos, reminders, and notes got a couple of updates, but nothing that I would really call major. And yes, I did hear about slow fees. I tried them once, and I moved on. Truly, you might be able to get a good Instagram story out of them, but I don't really care. And then there are the things that I just flat out don't like about this phone, and it starts with the fact that regardless of all the great video capabilities that it has, it's rather unfortunate that it's missing an essential element to become a true vlogging tool. The headphone jack for me is not just about being able to connect better headphones, but about being able to use a good directional microphone. And sure, there are a few lightning solutions out there that you can consider, but which are less than ideal in certain scenarios. And last but not least, this little 5-watt charger that comes in the box. Dear Apple, at a time when the Pixel 3a ships with a faster USB-C charger for $399, like seriously, what's your excuse? To conclude, I think it's important to go back to the initial premise, that slogan that Apple has, the right amount of everything. That implicitly pretty much says that this phone has everything you need. The question is, does it? Well, the average consumer demands great battery life, durability, and the great experience in the basics. Check. The average power user demands a fast and powerful phone. Check. Everyone I know wants a great set of cameras. Check. And every Apple user that I know wants their brand new iPhone to not be a watered-down experience. Check. Almost. See, true, this is no iPhone 11 Pro, the display is not as great, and you're not really getting a telephoto camera. But if you think about it, that's about it. You get far better battery life than the small 11 Pro, and I feel those two other things missing are not worth $300. Bottom line, I think that Apple got their slogan right. I think that this phone does have the right amount of everything. It's actually the device that I recommend to everyone, and it's the one that I've enjoyed using most, mainly because of its endurance and the fact that it's got the right amount of everything for me to not miss the iPhone 11 Pro. I recommend to everyone, give it a try. If you like it, keep it. If you don't, return it and go for the 11 Pro. What about you? What are your thoughts on the iPhone 11? Chime in the comments, and while you're at it, follow us on social media and subscribe to our channel for more videos like this one. You can also follow me on my personal handles to see what I do with these phones in the real world. Please give this video a thumbs up if you like what you saw. I'm Jaime Rivera. Thanks so much for watching. We'll see you on the next one.